And let's jump into some tech news because unlike last week, there were some big tech stories that came out this week. One of the bigger ones was, and I don't know if I think you guys probably have heard of it, but Rogers Telecommunications up in Canada suffered a massive outage, 19-hour outage last week. This outage disrupted pretty much everything, as routers put it, nearly every facet of life was affected, including internet access, cell phone, and landline telephone access, 911 emergency calls, ATM services, cashless payment systems, and more. Even the weekend, the artist, he had to cancel the start of his, the kickoff to his After Hours Till Dawn tour, which is supposed to kick off last week in Toronto. So this outage was massive, and it affected everything because of how many services were down. Could actually put the concert on safely with so much of Canada not able to use cell phones.
Oh,
And
so
even
a
like
safety issue.
911 was down.
Yeah,
and all kind of stuff.
911 services. So let me think about that. People are calling 911 and they can't get through. That is as bad as you can get when
Like
911
cell
goes
phones,
down.
landlines. I was surprised that landlines went down, and
Right.
even just for communication. I imagine they probably like a stage crew would mostly communicate via walkie-talkie, but there probably is still some cell phone communication that flies back and forth backstage and everything, and just in general to make a show like that work. So, yeah, I wasn't aware of this until you put this article in the rundown, but it sounds like it was a pretty big deal, and you would think that it would be a call out to telecoms around the world to make sure to have enough redundancy. I don't know, what the situation here was, and they haven't talked about what caused it, but no one can afford to have like this, like
Yeah.
anywhere around the world.
When emergency services are going down, hospitals can't page doctors. That stuff is going down. You really are talking about, like I said, I thought Reuters was like, is this hyperbole what they're saying when they said it included every facet of life that was affected? But the important parts were, accident happens, you can't call 911. Fire happens, you can't call 911. A doctor needs to be paged from one part of the hospital to another part. That's not working. And then I'm thinking about like the weekend, that's, like I said, that's how I heard of it when I heard that the concert was canceled. And it's like, oh, what's going on up there? And it's like, oh, this outage is major. Well, the
And it was
reason that they
almost a
could,
day long.
it was 19 hours.
Yeah.
It's 19 hours. So they were saying things like, you can't actually do mobile payments while this outage was going on. Many people couldn't actually use ATMs. I think that if you went to your own bank, you were okay. But if you were trying to go to an ATM that was not your bank, then you had a problem. That's for like the entirety of the country, and even like northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. So those, so our northern states, even though, they're in America, they actually use Rogers just because they're closer to big cities that are in Canada, or bigger cities that are in Canada than where they may live, in the northern parts of their states. So it was a ridiculously large outage, and it's even causing additional issues because like here in the States, telecommunication companies pretty much everywhere want to consolidate and become bigger and bigger and bigger. And Rogers was in a deal with Shaw Communications where I think they actually halted their deal. They paused their deal back in May. But they're trying to acquire, I think the fourth biggest telecommunications company in Canada for some umpteen numbers of billions of dollars. And 2 days before this outage happened, they actually had a meeting to try to get things going back, towards this humongous merger that they want to do. And now the country's saying, nah, y'all might be too big to fail. We don't necessarily know that we want to set aside our antitrust laws to allow this to happen. So this is it's a big deal when you have one company has an outage, and this was a outage that was an accident. I think they changed a router or something like that, or installed a faulty router or something like that, and they just had a cascading effect to where things just kept tumbling, down for 19 hours. But literally that regular maintenance causes your country, I think the numbers are 40% of internet traffic halted in the entire country. Now, when we think of Canada, we don't think of it as a big country because there's not a lot of people there. But as far as countries go, it's a pretty decent sized country.
Well, shame on
Yeah,
Americans for thinking it's not a big country.
Well, exactly. I was like,
That's
it's a
number
whole
one.
country.
yeah,
Or a
If you
small
get the
country.
designation country, I mean,
Right.
you
yeah.
know,
And then number two, speaking of countries, I don't know if there are any countries out there trying to attack America or attack any major city, but sending missiles this way, it'll kill some people and we'll be upset and we'll strike back. But you really want to hurt? You want to hurt some Americans? Take them cell phones away.
You know what? I can't remember this was like some B movie. It was not a great movie, but they were talking about the way to hurt America is not to send missiles because if we send missiles, they send them back. It is like then there's no earth any longer. The way to hurt America is to keep people from being able to text and send SMS messages and pay phone bills and all this kind of stuff. Like I said, the movie wasn't great, but I just remember that part of it. It's like, hey, you probably got a really good point there.
well, it's
To where,
the idea that you are going to completely destabilize society. I mean, you know, look at what we just talked about. No 911, no emergency services, no access to money, no, you know, no anything. So it's you know, we're making a little bit light of it, like, oh, keep, you know, take Americans' phones, but you know, the destabilization that would happen if internet access went away, and the chaos that would ensue, because people would start rioting, you know, people would start, you know, rushing ATMs, trying to get money, rushing, shutting down. It would really be a chaos on a mass scale, and I really do hope that the Comcasts of the world are looking at this and really figuring out how to prevent something like this from happening, because it sounds like, you know, from what you just said, Rob, that it wasn't even a big thing that caused this whole thing to happen. So, you know, why can one router take out an entire
faulty
major
hardware.
system for
Yeah.
almost a day?
It, and
That shouldn't that just should never happen. So I think, you know, like I said, I just hope other major telecom companies are looking at this and looking at themselves to make sure that something like this couldn't happen to them.
yeah,
Probably
this is the
not.
second major outage that
Probably not. Exactly, probably
yeah.
not. But I mean, you know, we always got to learn the
Yeah.
hard way, unfortunately.
This is Roger's second major outage in, I believe, 15 months. Now, the one 15 months ago, it sounded really bad at the time. It wasn't nothing compared to this one. I think people could still call the fire truck.
What said, hold my
People can
beer.
still go to concerts. But this is the second one. So you just start to think about how these companies are looking to, you know, to just merge and just become bigger. So we talked about Shaw. So I'm looking at, you know, the article right here. Canadian 15.34 billion takeover is what they want to do. So now that, you know, Shaw has 25% of Canadians are using it as their service provider. So you mean to tell me that if this deal goes through, that, you know, let's just say this happens a year out from this merger, that now there could be an additional 25%. So you're talking about roughly seven, you know, if that's another 75% that are completely down, you're talking 65% of the entire country has no internet access. That's catastrophic. Like I don't think we're really feeling the brunt of this just because we're here and it didn't really affect us. But actually, I have a buddy, a cousin, distant cousin of mine, who lives there. So I just sent him a hey man, how bad was this thing? And he was like, man, it was bad. It's like you could just sit, you know, you could not make phone calls. Like flights were delayed. There was just like I said, routers did not embellish in their title or
Okay, I'm
what
gonna
they
have
were
to
saying
stop
on
you.
this.
I'm gonna have to. I was trying not to do this live on air, but now you did it. This is like the third time. I just want to make sure that you are aware. It's Reuters, not Reuters.
What? It's not.
No, it's Reuters. It's a well-known news source. Like you said it like three times. And I was
I've
like,
al-
I
I've
don't want to
always
call them
said
out
it.
on air live
No,
like
call me
that,
out.
but
Like, hey,
I don't want you to go somewhere and
Reuters.
say that it's Reuters. Reuters.
Not
Okay.
not 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 Samsung.
Reuters.
Rob.
Reuters.
Because I say that, I say Sam's. I know it is Samsung with an N and a G, but it sounds like Samsung when I say it all the time. I got people telling me all the time. So no, I'm saying Reuters. It is Reuters. Okay, learn
Reuters,
something new every day.
Yes. Yes. It was, oh my God. I was like, as a journalist, I just couldn't let Reuters go out like that.
No, you were having that styrofoam moment, or that moment where I'm taking the fork against the back of a skillet and scratching it down, making that noise. It's like, I gotta stop you, right?
Should I say something live?
No, you should. I didn't know. For my 50 years on this planet, I've been saying it wrong. I did not know that that's how you pronounce that. So we'll take that.
Listen, learn something new every day.